I've been cruising with MSC for years, but I've always wanted to go through the MSC Yacht Club doors into the luxurious ship within a ship area. I'd heard about it, I'd seen pictures, but I'd never stayed inside. On my last cruise though, I finally had the chance, and in this video I will show you everything. From the private lounge and pool deck to the butler service, the very fancy little ketchup tubs to the afternoon tea. There were perks I didn't even know existed, and I learned a lot about cruising in a completely new way. When I said I would be staying in MSC Yacht Club, the main comment I got from you was, "You will not go back," and I wanted to see if that was true. Before I'd even stepped on the ship, it was clear that this would be a very exciting cruise. Our butler met us in the terminal and took us past all of the queues. We stopped only for a quick glass of champagne, which I was more than happy to do. We were sat in a little corner of the terminal with snacks and these comfortable seats. We were given our cruise cards and these wristbands. The crew member even put my wristband on for me, and that really was a sign of the things to come. It really hit me at this point that this would be unlike any cruise I've ever done before. I was already having so much fun, and that isn't something I normally say about cruise terminals. Normally it's just a thing you have to tolerate, but this was so exciting. MSC Yacht Club guests have priority embarkation and disembarkation too, so at the end of our cruise, our butler actually escorted us down to our taxi. We went into an MSC Yacht Club specific entrance, which they do have in some ports. This would always be towards the front of the ship so that we could head straight up, because we also had priority in the elevators, meaning that we didn't have to stop for anybody else. I don't normally use the elevators much when I cruise, but it turns out if you do have priority, that makes it a lot more tempting, and I did on this cruise. MSC Yacht Club is located towards the front of the ship, and it's split over decks 16, 18 and 19. Interestingly, there is no deck 17 on this ship at all, as in Italy, 17 is considered unlucky, the same way that 13 is considered unlucky in many other countries. There are some more cabins which are still part of MSC Yacht Club but located on the other decks, but the majority are in this area. Lower down there are a few double level suites which just look incredible. As soon as we got to deck 16, we passed through those magical doors and walked into the concierge area. This is kind of like a reception desk, and the team are here 24/7. Our cabin was located just to the side, and it was lovely to know that if we ever needed anything at all, we could just ask here. Every time we'd walk by, the crew would say good morning, and it was just a really lovely atmosphere. We could ask the people here to book specialty meals or excursions. They could book anything really. Our butler could also help us with those things and did book both for us. I'm very used to booking things myself when I cruise, so that did take some getting used to, but it was nice to have someone else confirm when the booking was. Whenever I do it myself, I always doubt myself that I've got it right, and when I'm waiting for a specialty meal, I'm always wondering, did I really book it for the right day? Did I book it for the right number of people? But I had no such worries on this cruise. I wasn't the one doing it. Our butler shared his story about working his way up through the company, and I could tell how much he loved it. He really loved buttling, or whatever the word is. As our butler showed us around, he took us to the top sail lounge, which is a space with the most amazing double height windows. We saw some beautiful views of Norway from here, and for me, this kind of view, this is what cruising really is about. Sitting here in the afternoon with a drink was the most relaxing thing ever. This lounge has 167 seats, and these sofas here, these were my personal favourite. Everything about it was so shiny and so clean. I mean, just look at the reflection in this table. This is how clean everything was. Over on the left hand side, there was a stage, and the seating went right the way around the outside. This seemed like a very clever design to me, to have all of the seats with the views and parts like the bar in the middle. Speaking of the bar, there are loads of different types of drinks, more drinks than I could ever mention. I never found anything that I wanted that wasn't on the menu, and I did try a few new things in here too. If you want a drink and you want it made in a particular way, they will do it. I don't think anything is really off limits if they have the ingredients. As we had just boarded the cruise and were getting everything set up, our butler sat with us in the lounge to help us log into the Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is included for guests staying in MSC Yacht Club, which is a really great perk. We really enjoyed that one, and we had fast enough speeds to watch videos and for me to keep up with my work while I was away. Each person has 2 devices that they can use, and I imagine if you weren't very tech savvy, having someone who could sit with you and help set this up, that's a big benefit. We would always have the choice of lots of seats in here, but there was one event where most of the seats were filled. That was the welcome on board party hosted by the captain and the cruise director. I'm pretty sure that all the guests, or at least the vast majority, did attend that. Everybody who came into the lounge was shown to a table by their butler, and the crew welcomed us on board. The butlers were introduced and came out to wave at everybody, followed by the captain and the cruise director speaking. In total on our cruise there were 68 different nationalities, so that's a lot of different languages being spoken. This wasn't a problem at all for our captain or the cruise director, who just effortlessly changed from language to language. It was seriously impressive. All of the guests who stay in MSC Yacht Club have the Premium Plus drinks package. This meant that we never had to think about prices, we didn't even look, and we didn't have to worry about getting a bill at the end of the cruise. Because everybody inside MSC Yacht Club has the drinks package, they didn't even have to take our cruise card when we ordered a drink, which was really nice. It made coming back to this lounge a great option once we were done with the entertainment out and about around the ship. They would always offer us snacks with our drinks, and I found out that the crisps given out by default were actually caviar flavour. I don't think I've ever had caviar flavoured crisps before. My favourite drink was the mango mojito, and the service in here was always so fast. They put down these little coasters when they take your order, just so that the other waiters knew that you were being served. Even these had the MSC Yacht Club branding on them, which is also present in the cabins. Every evening they would have live music in the topsail lounge. It would normally be a pianist or a vocalist or both, and they were always very, very good, singing a range of different music. All the music that I heard being played on board was sung in English. During the day they served afternoon tea in this lounge, and it was fantastic. There were only a few of us on the day we chose to come in, so we pretty much had our own dedicated waiter. We were offered lots of types of tea, cake and scones, and I decided to go for a tea called First Romance. I've never heard of that type of tea before, but it was lovely. It was the kind of tea with real leaves, of course, and we could have had as much tea and food as we wanted. There were also other snacks available in the lounge pretty much any time. They did have this little preview area of the snacks as you went into the lounge, which I thought was a nice touch. That way you could see what you fancied before being offered or asking for it. We could also eat the snacks in the minibar, which was a really nice treat, and the drinks in there are also included, and the drinks are constantly refilled. You can ask for whatever you'd like in your minibar and they will make sure that your preference is remembered. We also had a bottle of champagne in the cabin when we arrived and some fruits. I bought the champagne home and I actually gave it to the person who was looking after my dog and my cat while I was away. It is totally fine to do that. It is yours. You can take it away if you want. The same goes for these scent diffusers, which are gifts for guests staying in MSC Yacht Club. MSC cruises have a very distinct smell, and for me, every time I walk onto an MSC ship, it is so familiar. Now my bathroom at home smells the same too. We were on board this cruise for a week and we could choose a litre of spirits for our cabin. I personally don't really drink a lot, but if you were to add up the value of all of the perks like this, that really does add up fast. We did the majority of our eating in the MSC Yacht Club restaurant, which is located one deck up on deck 18. In between the lounge and the dining room is a Swarovski crystal staircase, and I loved walking down this after dinner. Especially on formal night, it really felt as though I was gliding down the stairs of a big country house, going to prom, something like that. The dining room has 140 seats and there are no fixed dining times. You just show up when the restaurant is open and you are seated. On our cruise, this was open for breakfast 7 till 9, lunch 12 till 2, and dinner 6 till 9:30. There are of course lots of other foods available outside these times because the food, it never really stops. We never had to wait even for 1 second, and the crew always knew our names, which was very impressive. We were always asked about intolerances and allergies, and one night I had a lady sit next to me who was gluten-free. She was so happy when they bought her multiple gluten-free bread options when they normally bring around that lovely bread basket. They bought us this bread basket before every single meal. The bread was a particular favourite of mine. It was fantastic, but all of the food was good. I could tell that a lot of effort had gone into the presentation, and the portion sizes were perfect for me. Every night the menu in here changes with extra special menus for formal night and Mediterranean night. The service really couldn't have been better. We never felt rushed, but we also didn't feel as though dinner took any longer than it needed to. The best part about eating in a restaurant on a cruise is when you are done, you just stand up and then you leave. Your food's included in the cruise fare, so there's nothing else to do. You just go. My personal favourite area in MSC Yacht Club is the pool deck. It felt absolutely huge for the number of guests, and it was the best place to hang out. I personally think having access to this pool deck for me makes the MSC Yacht Club upgrade worth it. I could have stayed just in this area all week. The pool deck spans 1,225 square meters, which is about the same size as 4 full-size tennis courts. There's a good sized pool too, and whirlpools, and over 100 different places to sit. It never ever felt crowded up here. It only took us a couple of days to feel as though the the crew really knew us. They'd always stop to chat about whatever we'd been up to for that day, and they would offer us refills all the time. We'd often spend our time here when we came back from exploring a port or taking an excursion. The excursions meet down in the top sail lounge, and there are excursions available just for the MSC Yacht Club guests. Sometimes on cruises, in some ports, you do have to use what is called a tender boat to get to land. It's basically either a lifeboat or a local boat that is used to transport guests to shore. We didn't have any of those ports on this cruise, but on some itineraries like the British Isles, there are often multiple. Guests staying in MSC Yacht Club have priority access to the tenders, so we could have been some of the first people off the ship if that was the case. Not having to get tender tickets and wait for the number to be called, that is a massive benefit, and I'm sure I would have really enjoyed that if we did need to tender. When we took an excursion in Nordfjordeid, it was raining, so our butler bought us an MSC umbrella to use. These are on loan from MSC, and I thought that was a really nice touch. I wasn't sure how I would like having a butler before this trip, but it was fantastic. I'm convinced I could have requested something that didn't even exist, and the team somehow they would have made it happen. I did request cookies for my cabin a couple of times, and they arrived not long after, so it must be a fairly common request. Who knew? I did speak to some other people on the cruise, and I asked them what kinds of things they asked their butlers to do. Some said that they requested a pre-dinner drink in their cabin each day, some had their butlers unpack their suitcases on embarkation day, some even asked for their pillows to be arranged in a certain way. None of those things were a problem at all. On the top deck there is a bar and a grill too, where we enjoyed multiple lunches. The food here is always cooked freshly, and there were loads of options, including the famous MSC mozzarella, which is made on board. One day when we were relaxing on the sun loungers with these adorable little towels, a crew member brought around little tubs of ice cream, which was a lovely surprise. They were the kind of ones you might order in the theatre in the little cardboard pots. The crew would bring us tea or coffee anytime too, as well as soft drinks and alcoholic drinks. I've personally never had a cup of coffee, so I can't comment on the quality, but we did have a coffee machine down in our cabin with these little pods, which I've heard are very good. If we wanted a kettle, we could have just asked our butler for that too, but I mostly just stuck to the fizzy drinks. We could have asked our butler for a few other things that we didn't. Some people do like to have their butlers unpack and repack, and I got the impression that they would be more than happy to do that. Ironing was another one too. Our butler did offer to iron a few items for formal night. I'm so used to cruising and never normally having access to an iron that I don't bring anything that really needs ironing on a cruise. I leave that stuff at home. Like my formal night dress, for example, that is mostly sequins. We made use of the pool deck area when it came to breakfast time. It was very relaxing, it was very quiet, and the speed at which they would take away the dirty plates when we put them down was just incredible. The small touches, like the butter being in a little tub, made this all feel very luxurious. My personal favourite MSC breakfast food is the iced buns. A couple of these and I'm good to start my day. There actually is a way to get in and out of this area and onto the main pool deck. I certainly did confuse a few people when I disappeared into this door, but being able to do that was just so much fun. In the past, I've always been that person who is looking longingly at the people who can open the doors, so it was really nice to be the person with that power. I'd either use my cruise card or more frequently my wristband to open these doors. These wristbands also acted as a way for the crew outside of MSC Yacht Club to know where we were staying. This meant that we could make use of other benefits outside this area of the ship without always having to explain. One of my favourites of these perks was the dedicated seating area in the theatre. Because we had this area of seats reserved for us, we didn't have to book the shows and we didn't have to arrive early to get a seat. Sitting behind the rope did take some getting used to, but I very much looked forward to going here each night, and we always had a great view because there's a gap between us and the next rows of seats, so we could see over everybody's heads. They do release the seats in this section at showtime so that no one misses out, which I think is very good. I would not want to deny someone the chance to see a show while I'm sitting there in an almost empty row. The shows were always entertaining and usually only around 30 or 40 minutes long. Each one had a different theme, and we saw lots of things like singing, dancing, knife throwing, acrobatics. Another perk outside of the MSC Yacht Club is that guests have free access to the spa's thermal area. This gave us access to the sauna, the steam room, the cold showers, loads of stuff. I decided to visit early on a port day and we were the only people in there. This was on advice of our butler, and having him to ask things to was so helpful. We told him that we wanted to go into the thermal suite at some point, and because I would be filming a few things, I really wanted to go when it was as quiet as possible. He was absolutely right with his suggestion. I braved the cold shower walk in the spa. Every single one got colder and colder. It was very refreshing, but I definitely did prefer the warm jacuzzis and the steam rooms. Afterwards though, I did have a nice warm shower in the changing room, so they had all of these lockers and these towels. I wore my MSC Yacht Club robe with the gold on the front, and that made me feel very special. They also put gold luggage tags on my suitcase too, which I'm sure made my suitcase feel very special. For our visit to the spa, we were actually escorted there by our butler, and the butler team were always available to take us anywhere. I imagine it would be great if you didn't have a good sense of direction. MSC Euribia is a big cruise ship, but if you have a butler, there's not really any risk of getting lost. The butler service is available 24/7, as is free room service. We made use of that multiple times during the cruise, and we enjoyed it even more because we had this luxurious cabin to enjoy it in. Normally just eating room service on my bed in my inside cabin by myself isn't so much fun, but this was great. One day we ordered sandwiches, and another time we ordered pizza, which came in this proper pizza box, which was so cute. We also ordered the room service breakfast here too, and that was an amazing way to start the day. My personal favourite were these pancakes with fruit. The MSC Yacht Club public areas take up 1,955 metres squared of space out of a total of 35,000 metres squared of public space for the entire ship. To find out what we got up to when we were in the other 94% of the ship, check out this video next. This includes all the food, the entertainment, absolutely everything, so I'll see you there.